Welcome to Scintille magazine, a cultural activist program to promote, share reflections and thoughts with photographers, artists, philosophers on burning contemporary issues. Today we have a special edition of Scintille magazine, an English edition, because we will talk with Berlin-based photographer and video maker Boris Eldagsen, head of digital artificial intelligence at the Deutsche Fotografische Akademie and member of the Deutsche Fotorat Association. He is internationally best known for his Electrician 2022 work and for his refusal to accept the prestigious Sony World Photography Awards, which caused an uproar in the international art and photography press as well as social media. Hello, Boris. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Well, thank you for the invitation.
I went over your website and read the chronology of all the steps that led you to your decision to refuse the Sony World Photography Awards for the Open Creative category 2023. You stated that your work was not a conventional photograph, but an AI-generated image. So you basically didn't want the prize because you said you didn't make the photograph, and so you did not accept the prize. I just would like to ask you to clarify, did you make clear with the organizer in advance that your Electrician was produced by DALL-E 2, an image generator produced by OpenAI company, or you just kept it secret until the end? You revealed it afterwards.
Okay, what you need to know as a background information is what I have been doing in Germany since last summer, in talks, in presentations, in my work with Deutsche Fotografische Akademie and Deutscher Fotorat. It was really informing about the possibilities of AI-generated images and to discuss the relationship with photography. So me applying was a test to find out if big competitions are prepared. And the open call was autumn-winter, and that was like weeks and months after the first big hype in the papers and magazines, which was August, September. So you could have foreseen that people are going to hand in AI-generated photographs, or I would say AI-generated images, because they are not photographs, but we are talking about this later. So I checked the regulations. Is there something that invites AI-generated images to be handed in or forbids this to happen? And Sony Awards did not change their regulations. They did not take it into account. And so I just applied as a test. I would have not thought that my image is going to be selected as a winner. So what I got from me at first hand is just the image, or to be precise, 3 images. That was what you could hand in. 2 of them were so obviously AI generated. And the one that passed on and got to the finalists was a little bit more difficult to see that it was AI. It depends on your experience, on how many AI-generated images you have seen so far. And the image I handed in, the Electrician, is quite old. Yeah? That was early September 2020. Today, you could make much more convincing images. So they didn't know when I was handing it in. In between, they were asking for more information, like webpage and history of exhibition. I handed it in. I have no idea if they looked it up or not. If you go to my channels, it's all very open what I do. And it's obvious that I'm working a lot with AI since last year. I think they have not looked at my material, and then when they sent me an email telling me I have won, I contacted them to tell it very clearly, this is AI generated, this is how it was produced, this is what I do. You have two options now. You can disqualify me and give it to someone else, or if you would like to continue, I really advise that it's important to have an open discussion. And I was telling them what I was already doing in Germany. And from there, they could have had many options. They could have said, you keep it because we think AI-generated images belong to photography. This is the future. This is our attitude. This is what our position is. Or they could have said, it doesn't belong in the competition. We have not taken it into account. Next year, we are going to do it. And we change the regulations. So this year, we have no winner. And next year, we will have two. So that there would have been many different options to react. But what I realized over the conversations that failed, my questions have mostly not been answered. The awards refused to inform the public and the press that it was an AI-generated image. It was not in the press release. I have informed them weeks before. I just guess they had bad communication in the team, because after the press release, very shortly after, I got an email by the PR executive asking me for more information, because he was getting so much emails from the press regarding my image, and he needs something to send out. So very fast, he got a response from me with a statement that it's still on my webpage. I was also asking, haven't you been informed by your team member? I was also suggesting a second time it is necessary to have an accompanying discussion, something like a Zoom talk, whatever would have been okay. So in the evening, I got a reply, a little thank you. And I could have thought that they used my statement in answering the press, but they didn't. German friends, friends from the press just sent me the reply, and the reply was very generic. It was like, dear Antonella, thank you for your email. To quote our CEO, we support the medium in its dynamic and various ways of expression. No word about AI. So at that moment, I realized they don't want to talk about the difference between my image and the other images. They don't want to communicate a position on AI in photography because they don't have one.
But I wonder, when you say they, the organizers, or they, the judges of the context?
Well, this is all connected. Yeah, just to make it clear, there is the organizers are called Creo. It's an event agency. They run a couple of competitions. Sony is the sponsor. For them, it's a marketing tool. For Creo, it's a business. And then there was one judge for the open competition. He was asked to be interviewed about this by the Australian National Radio. He refused. And so there's no word from his side if he has seen that the picture was different or not. And from Creo, you get nothing except that generic statement. And it's just not enough.
Yes. So you also said to the press, various journalists that interviewed you, that you were acting as a cheeky monkey to spur a debate and ask if a synthesized cameraless, lensless photography can be still considered a photograph. You suggested that no, it's not a photograph, that it should be called a promptography, that is an AI-generated, an image created by instructions given to a computer, drawing from many neural networks. I think you succeeded in opening up such a debate, all right. And are you happy with the outcome? And will you keep it alive, and how so?
Well, I'm overwhelmed by the outcome, and it actually shows how important it was to address it and to say there is a difference. The amount of personal messages I got from photographers thanking me, I just can't count. And it shows that it was the community that made it so big. It could have just been 2 social media posts by myself that no one is interested in. But it was about time. And it has many different aspects to it. So one is like the artistic side, the photography side, the commercial side, the aspect for disinformation that is very important for democratic societies. And somehow I ended up becoming an activist. I had a first interview a Sunday after I refused the award, and the interviewer said, "So, you're an activist now?" And I said, maybe, and was never intended. And I think now I became, because especially that aspect of misinformation is something that bothers me as a citizen of a democratic country. And I realized that the people in power, the press representatives as well, don't know that much, and they don't see the complexity of the subject. And so I continued just to reply to interviews and to do those talks until this complexity is understood and addressed. Was never my plan, but all the stuff that happened last year with AI was never my plan. I just got in it by chance. I love working with it. I think this is also very important if you talk about what I did and why. I love photography. I've been doing it for 30 years. I love to work with AI-generated images. It's very exciting. It's unexplored territory. I would not like to choose one of those sides, but I see they are different in the making, and AI-generated images, promptography, is much, much bigger than the photo-like images photo community is talking about. Promptography can look like drawing, can look like painting, can be objects that you print out, can be music that you generate with text prompts. So I think we really need an overall encompassing new term. And once we have done that difference in terminology, we can start to talk about the things they have in common and how we handle photo museums, photo festivals, galleries in the future. And the reason why this is very important for me is because I studied 6 years philosophy. You know, it's all about the definition of words and getting the terminology right. And we need this as a basis for a proper communication.
Okay. Boris, in one of your recent interviews, you stated that AI technology is evolving so fast that by the end of this year, we will be unable to distinguish an AI image from a photograph, from a camera photograph. This sounds quite a dystopic scenario to me. And more so when I think of the misuse of AI-generated images in photojournalism. That is, the thought of an AI program generating images with its own text, and then, circulated over the press and social media, It's quite disquieting. Do you share such concern?
Oh, yes, totally. Yeah, I share the same concern, but I have seen this coming since August, September. So I got some time to adjust to it. Uh, you and I, we can be generated completely, like as a video. Like what you need is just you and I talking. Somebody could get this sound material from videos that are online. And then what you need is possibly 20 pictures of our face, depending on how many portraits are out there in the internet. It's easy to do. And then you train a preset of Stable Diffusion. And then you and I can appear in any kind of picture, in any kind of surrounding and action. And to get from the sound and still image to moving image is just a question of time. And then we have fake images of VIPs that we all know and politicians, and just seeing it online, you don't know at all if this has happened or not. And it's very interesting what effects this is going to have on democracy, on our mind. Yeah, I'm still thinking about it.
Okay. Yeah, another concern is that the problematic use of AI and its use of copyrighted imagery. And this is a concern that was brought about photographer and journalist Louis Bush in a recent articles on your work. What are your thoughts about this problem?
Well, the problem that everybody is talking about is the training material that was just collected, scraped from the internet without asking anyone. Right now, it seems to be a legal practice that is still covered by law. There are lawsuits running, trying to explore this further if the law can be changed. But there's a difference between being legal and being fair. Yeah, I think, of course, it's unfair. Yeah, nobody was aware that something like this could happen. And it was just done. But in my perspective, this problem of the training material is just like 1/4 of the overall copyright problem. And everybody is just talking about this little 1/4, which will be solved possibly next year. We have lawsuits running. We have the big companies that offer AI generators setting themselves up to use legal material for training or images where the makers could have opted out, like Stable Diffusion 3.0. So all of this is getting solved, within a year, I would say. But the rest, that is the big problem nobody talks about. You can generate images with text, you can generate images with existing images and mix it. In the future, we will have more options. But generating images with images is 60% of what Midjourney does offer. And that means I can upload anything I want, have it transformed through the software, and you get a result where you can't trace what kind of copyrighted material was used. So that problem of copyright law being broken moves from the big companies to every single user, and this cannot be controlled. Us making images, we want those images to be seen in museums, in books, in magazines, and everyone who has a little camera just photographs it and works with it. I have realized that all the images I have done in the past And none of that can be protected. And that is just fact. And I have come to terms with that this is the new, this is the new thing. This is, I can't stop it. And as long as those image generators have those options, it's going to stay like this. And if you just try to solve it with Midjourney, you have Stable Diffusion, which is an open source model that is released. It's also on my computer that we are talking with here. And nobody is going to know what I'm doing here. Nobody can control this. It's just local on my laptop. So this is the big problem in copyright. And I understand Louis Bush, but the reality is there's nothing you can do about it.
Mm-hmm. I'm just curious, can you discern from a photograph and AI image immediately? Can you tell immediately the difference, and how do you go about detecting this difference?
I think right now you can see it depending on the platform. There are certain looks that are really Midjourney or Stable Diffusion or DALL-E 2. But I think they're advancing so quickly that by the end of the year, it will get really, really difficult. There's some software that you could use to detect if it is a fake or not. It already exists on GitHub. And if you then use Trump gets arrested or the Pope in Balenciaga, you get an estimation. It's 76% fake. It's 52% fake. So, which is not really solving anything. It just gives a hint.
Yeah. I see. How much creativity is left there in AI image making? And
that is depending on the person using it, and the balance between man and machine and creativity can be quite diverse. So normal user that just types in a little text prompt is not getting deeper in the options you have, gets a great result, but the majority of decisions had been made by the machine. So the machine has the lead clearly. If you know a bit better what is possible, then you have the lead. It's a co-creation with the machine, but yeah, your part of the creation is a bit more. If you don't stop with one generation of an image and you start to refine the text prompt, you start to use the result as a starting point for a workflow across different platforms. You start with Stable Diffusion, then you continue to work with Midjourney, then you go over to DALL-E 2 for outpainting, and then you can have this work again as a source material for Stable Diffusion or Midjourney, and so on and so on. And in the end, you can spend like 2 days working on one picture, and the normal user is creating 4 images in 20 seconds. So there's a difference in how you use it. And when you use it in a complex workflow, then you are the director, and this is the tool. Yeah, because there are so many decisions in each step of the workflow that at the end, the result is what I want it to be. There is a surprise element. There is something that you, is chance in it, but it's as well in photography. When I go somewhere to take pictures, I do it in Berlin at night at Museums Island. I never know what's going to happen, but I have an idea of what I would like to get.
Yes. Do you think that AI will make creativity useless or obsolete?
No, not at all. For me, the beauty about AI is that as someone who is older, I'm 52, I have an advantage. If I would be 15, I would possibly generate images of superheroes. But if you just go back to text prompting, you can have like up to 11 parameters, 11 prompt elements to describe how you would like the image to be. You can talk about image making, foreground, middle ground, background, colors, light. You can talk about photography technology, camera, lens, shutter speed, analog film, digital. You can talk about quality of the image, how it should appear, how sharp and crisp it is. You can have references to certain centuries, art schools, prominent artists. You can have emotional quality and so on and so on. So if you are older and have a background as an artist photographer, you can use those prompt elements and make a difference, and you can use all your skills. So for me, AI is not going to replace me. It is an accelerator of my knowledge. The beauty is I'm freed from material restrictions, from budget, anything. Yeah, I needed in the past, locations, models, gear. It comes out of my head, and but it is nurtured by my knowledge, by everything I have. So I don't think that we are just going to be replaced. It's a very simple, naive idea of how those image generators work. And I really love doing it, yeah, because of this, because I can go further than in the past. The main problem we have here, if you take this image, that people with no skills, no creative education, that couldn't do any good images in the past. They can do now. With no knowledge, they get here because the machine is lifting them up. And then the professionals that are here are now scared because the non-professionals are coming closer without doing anything, just using the machine. But once you realize that as a professional, you can use the machine too and get pushed further, yeah, it opens up new perspectives.
The more I think and talk about and hear about AI image making, I think that besides opening a discussion about is this photography or prompt of photography or what else photography, I think we should also open up a discussion on how much beauty is left in this so-called intelligent image making. Is there any beauty, any discussion on beauty, on truth?
For me, yes, because the material that was used for training is something like a mirror of the human condition. Or if you go back to Carl Gustav Jung, of the collective unconscious. And I find it fascinating to work with this. And I also see it as my task, being the artist, to make this link between the machine and the human world and the human condition. And I find it fascinating that friends that know my work for 20 years tell me that they see it's mine. Like the AI images have a connection to what I have been doing the last 20 years. People say, oh, there's no human touch and this is awful and so on. There's a beauty in photographing in the process, yeah, in working with the real world, that you say, I'm getting out there. I don't know if it works or not. Yeah, there is a risk. If I work with people, I have to make myself vulnerable. I have to connect with the people I'm working with. This is something that doesn't happen in the interaction between man and machine in AI image generating. But AI images have another potential for me to open up artistic possibilities that I did not have in the past. And I only use AI generated images to produce images I could not produce otherwise. And here I'm not talking about skills and technology. I'm talking about things that create a new vision, like the Hunger series with those mutated bodies that kind of melt. How could I do this in conventional photography? How could I bring together the extremes of my ambiphilia work? I would need a movie set. I would need makeup artists and all of this. This is the beauty and the potential I see in AI image making. Both have advantages and certain characteristics, and yeah, they should not be mixed up and be called the same.
I agree, and I don't know, it's very articulated, but I'm not convinced about the beauty side of it. I don't see it. Beauty, it's something that in a way strikes us, that that catches us. I don't have any sort of resonance. It doesn't resonate to me. It's disquieting, and it's I can tell that it's drawing from other images. You know, an image, another image is a sort of delirious.
It is not like making collages of images. Yeah?
And it's not
it
even
works differently.
It's not even ready-made. Some people evolve ready-made for artificial image making. Has nothing to do with it.
I think that also with handmade artworks, they don't resonate to everyone.
Yes, of course.
It's just certain people react to certain works. And I got many direct messages in the last 2 weeks telling me that they don't care how the electrician was produced, that for them it's a strong and beautiful work. And the most touching email I got from a poet, an Italian poet, telling me that this image is very important for him. It's kind of touching him. It gives him some kind of consolation, and he was thanking me for it. He was talking about his mom, who has dementia, and he was living in her own world. And he saw many parallels. Maybe the older woman who is hiding behind the shoulder of the young woman in the picture of the electrician, and B, that he can't really understand in which kind of world she is living right now. And that is also something that can't really be understood. What is the mechanism behind AI? What is this black box? So I got those responses, and for those people sending me the messages, the work resonated.
Raises ethical questions. An ethical question that is about the responsibility that photographers and artists, intellectuals, philosophers have today. They have the responsibility not to neglect our humanness, our human being. And they have to remember to cultivate this humanness in the face, precisely in the face of this invasive and pervasive artificial intelligence visuality, which I think is devised by faceless and nameless technocrats.
Yes. Well, I can only say my aim as an artist has been to explore the human condition and the human mind and everything that is about it. And this main topic of mine is not going to change. Yeah, doesn't matter what kind of tool I'm using for this.
But what makes it suspicious is the name, is the calling it intelligence. They should call it artificial imagery, and then I know what I'm facing, But the fact that they insert intelligent into it, it makes me suspicious.
Yeah.
I don't want to be deceived. You know, it's not.
Yes, but
illusion is one thing, but to be deceived is something else. And I think with this tools devised by technocrats, it's a technocracy. You know, I'm not. I cannot control, and I don't want to be controlled. It's an ethical issue.
You can have if you start to look at what actually controls you and me and our societies, there are so many things not related to AI that already control us.
Yeah.
I think you need to have knowledge about those things to be able to navigate consciously and make decisions. Yeah, because otherwise you are just a ball in a game.
Maybe beauty is freedom, you know. At this point in history, we need to be free, and to be free means to be beautiful.
Okay. You have a variety of definitions of freedom. Yeah. Are you free to do something, or are you free from something that has an influence on you?
You are free when you know who controls you, and you oppose, you name the controllers and you oppose them. Together, growing consciousness with other people. You construct consciousness, learning, and just being, and cultivate your human capacities, which are unknown, are unlimited. No machine learning can match them. You see,
I totally agree. It is plain capitalism. Yeah, it is a competition between different players, and some players decide that they keep the information for themselves, like OpenAI, because otherwise they would also be sued, like Stable Diffusion, which is open source, where you can look into and see where the material actually comes from. There are many reasons for this. Yeah,
I don't think they take care of us. I think we should take care of us. I don't think these big companies, act for our own safety and happiness and beauty and freedom.
Yes, and then we come back to the Sony Awards, because I think they also didn't care. Okay.
Very good.
Well, have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Boris. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye. Ciao.